What's going on, Raider Nation? It's True Raider. And as you know, the NFL tampering period started today. And I got to tell you guys, man, I am excited. I'm excited. I'm excited. Now, there's a couple ups and a couple of downs, and I want to break that down for you today. I want to get started with just talking about couple of the cuts that happened this weekend, right? And as you guys probably know, Brian Hoyer and Jerry Tillery both got cut, right? And when I saw that Jerry Tillery got cut, I knew that something was coming up, right? I had a feeling that they were going to go out and make a big splash at defensive tackle. And they did, right? And they did. Last year, I remember last couple of years, man, I just remember sitting there for free agency, just being like, yeah, we're going to hit this big splash and this thing's going to happen. And then we signed who? Who is that? We start Googling and trying to figure out, and I'm like, okay, I guess, And man, we really hit the biggest name on my list, right? And that is Christian Wilkins. Christian Wilkins, he's set to sign a 4-year deal for 110 million with 84 million guaranteed, and that averages out somewhere like around 27 million a year. And I got to tell you guys, man, I am excited. This guy, I think, is really hitting the prime of his career. He's 28 years old, but he's coming off the best season of his career. He had 9 sacks, like 13 tackles for loss. He's hitting it hard. And really what this is going to do is it's going to set us up with the best defensive line that we've seen in years, man. In years. If we have Malcolm Koonce, Tyree Wilson, Christian Wilkins, Max Crosby, like, it's just insane to me. There's totally insane to me. This is really going to make a huge difference on our defense, right? I really see us being in a position where they can't figure out who to double team, right? They double team Max, Christian Wilkins gets through. They double team Christian Wilkins, Max gets through. And man, I gotta tell you guys, I am excited. Real quick, I'm gonna look up some of his stats, right? Because he had a progression that was coming up, he was brought in as a first round pick in 2019. He was pick number 13. He really started off pretty slow, getting like 2 sacks a year the first couple of years, but as it's gone, it's really progressed, and he's gone up, and I really think that, in the NFL today, defensive tackles are really starting to hit their prime, between the ages of 26 and 32, 33, right? And so we're signing him to 4 years. 4 years, we're going to have him in the absolute prime of his career, and I think that gives a defensive tackle the time to really develop in the league, to really learn some of the skill set, develop some of that power, and really just master their skill, I want to also talk about a couple of our other signings, man, and some of them, there's been some up and downs. And I want to mention, Andre James, we re-signed him at center, 3 years, 24 million, 16 of that guaranteed. Now, I think that James is a little bit undersized, and there was a lot of times where we saw him when he's going up, a really good defensive tackle where he just flat out got beat and he got pushed into the quarterback slot, right? And I wasn't really too excited at first, but the more I looked into it, Andre James is really between, I'd say, a top 8 to 15 center in this league. And there's not a ton of availability, and so I really think securing him and making sure we don't want to just kind of shoot in the dark and bring in some rookie center and throw him into the wolves right away his first year. If we're going to draft a center, I'd like him to be behind James for at least a year or two while he gets things figured out, and the way James' deal is structured, it's really a year and a half, 2 years that we're looking at probably keeping him at center. We also brought back Amir Abdullah, 1-year deal, 1.85 million. And I think that that's a good pickup, especially, in the passing game, but most of all because of what happened with Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs, he tested the market free agency, and he's going to go to the Green Bay Packers, and he's really signing a big deal, right? $48 million over 4 years, right? And the kicker to that deal is that really only 1 year is guaranteed. It's like 12. Let me check my notes real quick. 12, yeah, just 12 million guaranteed, right? And I don't know that that was such a good decision on his part. I kind of see that there was something going on because Antonio Pierce really spoke highly of Josh Jacobs, right? He said he's the heart and soul of this team, and Jacobs has been a captain and really a good leader in the locker room. But him being benched for injury the last several games of the season, I thought was a little bit weird. Something kept striking me when that was going on. I kept feeling like we're in a position where, not only did they want to test out Zamir White and see what they had, but Jacobs also did not want to get hurt, right? Because if Jacobs gets hurt in those last couple of games, then he's not in a position where he can really get the best deal that he can get. And so I see why it was in his best interest to sit out, make sure he's healthy. That way he could sign to a deal like the deal he signed with the Green Bay Packers. Another one I want to point out, man, is Bilal Nichols. He left to the Arizona Cardinals. He signed a 3-year deal for $21 million out there. And that one I kind of saw coming. As soon as Christian Wilkins signed, it's like somebody's going to go. It's either going to be John Jenkins, Adam Butler, or Bilal Nichols, right? And Bilal Nichols went ahead and left. And I'm really hoping what that means is that we're going to hold on to Adam Butler and hopefully John Jenkins as well. Those guys are a little bit older towards the end of their careers, but I really think that they brought a lot to our defense this last season. And really having a rotational piece with those guys, Christian Wilkins and Tyree Wilson, I think it puts us in the best absolute position available to us. I also want to touch on a couple of the quarterbacks. Russell Wilson. There was a lot of hype around Russell Wilson, and a couple of days ago, I put out a video saying that I did not want Russell Wilson. Right now, Russell Wilson, he's going to go to the Pittsburgh Steelers, right? And that really didn't bother me at all until I saw that we signed Gardner Minshew, right? Gardner Minshew, man. And it's funny because we signed Gardner Minshew to a 2-year, $25 million deal with 15 of that guaranteed. And it's just kind of funny to think about him and Max Crosby being in the same locker room after, last year there's a video that went out where they were mic'd up and Max Crosby kept telling Gardner Minshew, little ass boy, you little ass boy. Like every time he'd run into him, man. And on the sideline, Gardner Minshew was saying, like, man, Max Crosby's so angry. He just keeps calling me a little ass boy. So it's kind of funny to think about those guys being in a locker room together, right? But Gardner Minshew is really not the answer for the Raiders as a starting quarterback, and they're paying him kind of a lot for what I feel is what's really going on, right? Because, looking at his numbers, him and Aiden O'Connell, it's pretty comparable. Minshew, he played 17 games last year and had 15 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, 3,300 yards, and I've seen him play in a lot of games where I felt like, man, like that dude's pretty solid, and he's beaten us. But not solid in the way that I'm like, I want to bring him in, and there's some speculation of, well, maybe he's being brought in as a backup, things like that. But it's kind of weird to me if we're going to draft a quarterback that we would bring in Gardner Minshew and pay him $25 million to be a backup when we have Aiden O'Connell, who has proven to be a solid quarterback. Some people are even asking for him to be our starting quarterback, right? But Aiden O'Connell is really an amazing backup quarterback. And so for us to have Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell battling it out, if there's another quarterback that's in mind as a starter, I don't really like the idea of that. And I would have rather had a Russell Wilson than a Gardner Minshew. However, I think what we're looking at right here is that Tom Telesco and Antonio Pierce are probably looking to make a big splash when it comes to the draft. And there's already, talks about, they're trying to move up. They're trying to see what's available. And this whole signing with Christian Wilkins really makes me think that they're in position where they're willing to make that big splash, right? Now that we have a solid defensive tackle like that, I really think that the other holes that we have are pretty minimal, and to go ahead and spend the draft capital to move up and get our guy is really ideal, and there's things like Kirk Cousins signed with the Atlanta Falcons. And so since he signed a $180 million deal over like 4 years, some crazy number, right? And him going to the Falcons, that means there's one less team that we have to go through that's, looking for a quarterback that's drafting ahead of us, right? But unfortunately, the Patriots just traded Mac Jones to the Jaguars for like a 6th-round pick or something, or a 5th and a 6th. And so, I'm really thinking that Patriots are going to go ahead and draft a quarterback, and I'd be really shocked if they don't, which puts us in a position where moving up to get, a Jaden Daniels or a Drake May or a Caleb Williams is starting to look more and more out of the picture, right? But I feel like what they did was they signed Gardner Minshew, and then we have Aiden O'Connell, and if we aren't able to go up and get our guy in the draft, then it puts them in a position where they can battle it out for the starting position for the 2024 season. And now, whoever wins out of that battle, I think, will do a good job at quarterback. I think that Gardner Minshew is a lot more mobile in the pocket and can kind of scramble around and extend plays a little bit better than Aiden O'Connell. But there's reports that Aiden O'Connell is really getting fit. He's really putting in the work, and he's really doing what's necessary to move up into that role. And so, I'm excited to see that battle. But, I don't, man, the only other thing I could see that we're doing in the draft at quarterback, it's not something like Jaden Daniels. It would be something like a Michael Penix Jr. or a Bo Nix or, one of these other quarterbacks that's considered more of like a tier 2 in this draft. And really, if we brought in like a Michael Penix Jr. and then we have Gardner Minshew and AOC battling for starting position while, Michael Penix kind of gets groomed to NFL speed, I could kind of see something like that happen. But what we're doing in that case is we're just kind of surrendering to the fact of maybe getting into playoff contention, but not really going, for a Super Bowl this season, and I really feel like if we move up in the draft and we get Jaden Daniels or Caleb Williams or Drake May, that what we're communicating to the NFL is that we are really, in this to try to win something, right? So, let me know what you guys think about all this, man. I'm really excited overall about what we've done so far, during the first day of the tampering period. And I'm really excited to see, what other moves come along the way. There's some other names that are available, and I'd like to see, Derrick Henry's still out there. Not sure what we're going to do at running back, if we're going to sign a free agent or if they're just going to go ahead and go forward with Zamir White and draft a rookie this coming year. Let me know what you guys think. Leave a comment. And please subscribe. See you guys for the next one.